Okay, it's 5:30. I'm wondering, Lisa, are you here? I'm trying to figure out who's here.
I'm here,
Yes, I'm
Mike.
here, Mike.
Okay. I see. Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to assume that everyone is here and we will start. So I'm convening our May 6th, 2020 budget meeting. Welcome, everyone. And we have some important work to do tonight. In just a moment, we'll do introductions of all the members here. And I will call your name and I'd like you to say what zone you're in. And if you don't know what zone, don't worry about it. Say how long you've been on the budget committee. But I will start with a acknowledgement of the homeland statement. The land we are on is the traditional homeland of the Kalapuya people. The Kalapuya were stewards of this very land for over 14,000 years before their traditional way of life was forever disrupted and destroyed. We start our meeting with humility and reverence for the original inhabitants, the Kalapuya. Everybody might want to unmute for this brief moment and just be really quiet while we listen to everybody else. So I'll start with the board members. Matt, go ahead and say who you are and how long you've been on the board.
Thanks, Mike. Matt Keating, Vice Chair of the board, and I was first elected in May of 2013.
Thanks. Rosie.
I am Rosie Pryor. I'm on the board, and I have been serving I'm in my 9th year.
Thanks. Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea Jennings, she, her pronouns. I was appointed as an LCC board member last July to Zone 5.
Melanie, are you with us?
I am, yeah, so Melanie Munzer, Zone 1, and this will actually be my 4th budget cycle.
I'm glad you went before me because ours is the same and I don't remember.
Actually, well, since I was appointed early, you might actually only be in your 3rd, I can't remember.
Angela.
Angela Van Kraus. I was elected in 2019, so this is my first budget cycle participating, although I did observe as an audience member last year. Zone 2.
Thanks. Lisa?
My name's Lisa Fragola. I fill an at-large position for the county, and I was elected last year in May of 2019, but had been appointed the summer before. So this is actually my 2nd budget cycle.
I'm Mike Eister. I chair the board, and I think my first budget cycle, I was a budget committee member, but not a board member. So altogether, that's been 4 budgets. I'm in Zone 3, and let's start with Kevin Matthews.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Matthews, and I'm a budget committee member, and I've been through several budget cycles. This was an interesting one.
Thank you. Elaine?
Yes, hi, I'm Elaine Clark. I'm in Zone 3. This will be my 3rd year on the budget committee.
Thanks. Celine?
Celine Swenson Harris. I am Lisa's appointee, which makes me, I believe, at large. And I believe this is my 3rd budget cycle.
So I don't know if you can do anything about it, Celine, but you're just a little quieter than the other folks were. I don't know if that's an adjustment on your end or ours.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay. Hillary.
Hi, I'm Hillary Kittleson, and the phone is ringing, of course. I've been on, this is my 4th cycle.
Thank you.
Cycle.
Amber.
Hello, I'm Amber White. a budget committee member for representing Zone 1, and this is my third budget cycle.
Great, thanks. And Ashley.
Hello, Ashley Espinoza. I am representing Zone 5. I'm a appointee of Chelsea Jennings, and this is my first budget committee cycle. So thank you for having me.
Welcome. Did I get every member? Oh, Clarissa.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Parker, and this is my second budget cycle, and I actually have moved since I served last year, so I'm not quite sure what my zone is,
Okay.
but I'm still in Eugene.
Great, thanks. Now, did I leave anybody out from the budget committee other than staff? Good, okay. So I see Brett is here. Brett, how about if you tell us who you are?
Hey, everybody. Brett Roulette, Director of Public Affairs for the college.
Our newest staff member, Michael.
Yes, I'm Michael Blade. I'm the new general counsel, and this is my first budget cycle with Lane.
Paul.
Hello, everybody. Paul Jarrell. I'm Provost and Executive Vice President, finishing up my second year at Lane, and I believe this is just my second budget cycle as well. Nice to see you all.
Deborah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Butler. I'm Chief of Staff to the President, and I've been with the college for 5.5 years.
Donna.
Here we go. Sorry about that. Donna Smolik, Executive Assistant to the President and Board Secretary. And this is like my 30th budget, probably 15th or 16th in this position. So, and I think everybody has heard from me because, well, I think y'all know who I am. So,
Shane.
Hello, I'm Shane Turner, Chief Human Resources Officer, and this is my first budget cycle as well.
Greg, are you there?
I am. So I'm Greg Holmes. I'm the college finance. 7 years with the college.
Great. And Zach.
Yep, sorry for the delay. Zach Evans here, Budget Director, and this is my third budget cycle.
Okay, thank you. And I think I've gotten everybody except Marge. Did I leave anybody out other than Marge yet? So Marge.
Okay, hello there. Good evening. Margaret Hamilton, she, her pronouns, and this is my third year as president and in my third year budget cycle.
Great, thanks. Are there any other meeting participants that I have not called on? Good, okay. So this is obviously the first time that we've done this kind of a budget meeting, and however, I am assuming that all of us have had some experience with Zoom since during the last month. I know I've learned to use it just a little bit. So the idea would be to try to stay muted when you're not speaking. And we will do public testimony. We had asked that it come in a written form in advance, and it will be read. So that's how that will be handled. Our first order of business tonight is to elect a chair. And whoever we elect as chair, I want you to feel free to call on me if you need a hand, because jumping into this chair job for the first time, even when we're doing it in person, face to face, can be a bit challenging. And I would make that same offer in that case. But the fact that we're doing it online makes it maybe even a bit more challenging. So I want to make that offer. And I will say that we will elect a chair and a vice chair, and that it's a wide open process, so people can self-nominate, or other people can nominate others. I believe last year Celine was the chair, and I believe Amber, you were the vice chair. Is that correct? I think that's right.
Yeah.
So I have taken the liberty of asking Celine, would she be willing to serve? And she said she would. She's not champing at the bit necessarily, and would welcome the opportunity to let someone else have that opportunity, but she is available. So do we have a nomination? You know what? We didn't exactly talk about how we're going to do, how I'm going to recognize people. Should we use the little reaction thing down at the bottom right-hand corner and use the clapping hands if you would like to speak? That'll let me know who I should call on. I do see you, Matt.
Well, I'm not hearing any other nominations, so I will nominate Celine.
Are there any other nominations? I want to make sure I give everyone a chance to. Feel free to self-nominate anybody that would like to do this.
Thanks, Celine, as well.
Okay. So I'm not seeing anybody else's hand up. And so we have a nomination on the floor. So let's see. Donna, do you want to call roll, or are you prepared?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a list here.
Okay, great.
Melanie Munzer.
Aye.
Amber White.
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
Clarissa Parker.
Aye.
Mike Eister.
Aye.
Elaine Clark.
Aye.
Matt Keating.
Aye.
Kevin Matthews.
Aye.
Chelsea Jennings.
Aye.
Ashley Espinoza.
Aye.
Rosie Pryor.
Aye.
Hillary Kittleson.
Aye.
Lisa Fragola.
Aye.
And Celine Swenson Harris.
Aye.
Okay.
And can I ask, can folks hear me better now?
Yeah, I can.
Great.
Yeah, thanks. Why don't I go ahead and do the vice chair election and then turn the meeting over to you, Celine. So are there nominations for vice chair? And that again could be a self-nomination, or it can come from any member of the committee.
Mike,
Yeah, Rosie, go ahead.
I would like to nominate Hillary Kittleson as vice chair.
Okay. We have one nomination. I'm looking at my screens. I'm not seeing any other hands up. Hillary, are you willing to serve if elected?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, Donna, would you go ahead and take the roll?
Sure. Melanie Munzer.
Aye.
Amber White.
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
Clarissa Parker.
Aye.
Mike Eister.
Aye.
Elaine Clark.
Aye.
Matt Keating.
Aye.
Kevin Matthews.
Aye.
Chelsea Jennings.
Aye.
Ashley Espinoza.
Aye.
Rosie Pryor.
Aye.
Lisa Fragola.
Aye.
Celine Swenson Harris.
Aye.
And Hillary Kittleson.
Aye.
Great, thanks. So Celine, just so you know, the next two budget items, the overview of budget committee responsibilities and the presentation of the budget message, will be presented by staff. The public comment will be read by Deborah. And then your primary role will be to manage the discussion and information requests.
All right, that sounds good. And I will ask the folks, once we get to discussion, continue to use the raised hand to ask to be recognized.
I don't have a raised hand. Excuse me, I don't think I
Oh.
have a raised hand. I'm looking on my iPad for a raised hand. Can I just do this? Or
If you click,
where do I go?
click
Go ahead,
on
Celine.
participants and then you'll see it.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna do that then.
I can see you. Perfect. Are you asking to be recognized, Hillary, or just, okay? Okay, yes, you're recognized.
At some point, I would like to raise, and I don't know if it's before or after the presentation of budget committee responsibilities, but I would like to raise the issue of whether we ought to act tonight on this budget, because it's clearly a placeholder budget. It is not going to be the budget that will ultimately be adopted by the board or as amended by the board early in the following year. So I want to put that on the table, and I'm not sure exactly when to have that discussion. I just want you to know that I want to have that on the table, that we act formally tonight to adopt a placeholder budget, recommend adoption of a placeholder budget.
Thank you for that, Hillary. I think we will go through the staff presentations, and then it might be appropriate to come back to that under discussion.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So we will go to staff for the overview of budget committee responsibilities.
So thank you, and good evening, everyone. So welcome and thank you for participating in the LCC Budget Committee. I hope that everyone is safe and well. The college is challenged with an unprecedented uncertainty as it transitions into the next fiscal year. The Higher Education Coordinating Commission has notified colleges of a Department of Administrative Services request to model an 8.5% reduction to the Community College Support Fund next fiscal year. As this reduction applies to the biennium, it's likely a greater than 20% cut to state support to LCC. The estimated reduction is greater than 17%, which is, could you think, 8.5 times 2, as Lane Community College is more sensitive to decreases in the funding model than other colleges. This is due to how local property taxes are treated in the model. Given this uncertainty and not knowing the precise timing of when and how the official cuts will be implemented, the Oregon Community College Association recommends that colleges proceed with their pre-COVID-19 budgets for FY21. LCC is following this guidance. So an overview of tonight's process. The college, due to this remote environment, the college has deviated from prior practice by allowing public testimony at the first budget committee meeting. By accepting public testimony at the first meeting, the committee may approve the proposed document tonight if it's satisfied with the materials. If the committee feels it's appropriate to approve the proposed budget tonight, the college has prepared motions. So you might be asking, what about changes after committee approval of the proposed document, given the uncertainty surrounding state funding and other unknowns? The LCC Board of Education may make changes in the approved budget before it is adopted. As a reminder, the deadline to adopt the budget is June 30th. I'm going to shift over and share my screen, so give me a second. Okay, is that visible? All right. So we've already covered a few of these items as we're working through the agenda. So I have an overview of budget committee responsibilities, and then we'll present the budget message and then go through an orientation to the document, and then opportunity to discuss public comment and then committee discussion. So the purpose of the budget committee in Oregon budget law is ORS 294. And that means that we must conduct public hearings to receive the budget message and review the budget, which we will do tonight. The committee listens to public comment, approves a property tax rate, and approves and recommends the budget to the LCC Board of Education. So some of the legal mandates that are continued with the budget committee: must hold at least one meeting to receive the document, receive the budget message, and provide the opportunity for public input. The committee may meet as many times as needed to revise and complete the budget. We also must have a quorum, which we do, and the committee cannot approve personnel, employee contracts, salary levels, but is permitted to make additions or deletions. So now the question is, what can the committee do? The budget committee's role is to not directly establish or eliminate specific programs or services. It may add or delete funding for specific services, but the final authority rests with the board, and the board is responsible for setting budget parameters. As a reminder, in the slide deck, we've included the calendar for this cycle. And in breaking from past practice, I will not read the budget message verbatim as it was published last week. If the version you received via email or on the budget website did not include the budget snapshot at the end, please check the budget office website again, as we've uploaded the budget message and attached the snapshot to it. And I'm referring to the snapshot, it's an infographic. So some highlights from the budget message. The total proposed annual budget is $224,954,154. The total proposed general budget is $91,146,647. And as we develop this and work through the governance structure in this budget cycle, we definitely still had some challenges. Declining enrollments, long-term state disinvestment in higher education funding, and aging infrastructure, and most recently, uncertainty surrounding the May revenue forecast. As the college worked through the FY21 budget development process, the following principles guided our work. The college cannot afford to maintain all programs and services it currently provides and must limit its offerings to be financially sustainable. The college must limit the use of one-time funds. The college shall continue to invest in student success, access and equity, and regional economic driver strategic priorities. The FY21 proposed budget reflects these principles and also includes a difficult mix of balancing options. In order to close the projected $4.8 million budget gap, the college looked to the following: materials and services reductions, reduced major maintenance funding from the previous year, additional program revenue from the LCC Foundation, personnel savings through restructuring and holding positions open, and an inflationary tuition adjustment, as well as a restructuring of the tech fee and the online course fee. The economic environment section of the budget message. The proposed budget was built upon a Community College Support Fund, or CCSF, of $641 million, and based on the information we had at the time, assumed an 8% share of the CCSF for next fiscal year. The proposed budget includes strategies to address year one of the 3-year plan to restore the general fund ending fund balance as per board policy 245. So some benefits of an adequate fund balance. It provides cash for first quarter payroll and operations when cash flow is limited. Funds are available for emergencies or unexpected events. It supports the college's overall financial position and bond rating, and it prevents the need for costly short-term borrowing. Due to the declining fund balance, the college is borrowing an estimated $4.35 million through the Oregon Education District Short-Term Borrowing Program to address funding gaps in the first quarter of fiscal year 21. So the college originally funded a PERS reserve in 2004, and then again in 2005 and 2010. And recently the college has used around $860,000 from this reserve to stabilize our other payroll expenses rates, also known as our fringe benefit rates. So FY21 OPE rates, contracted full-time employees will be 65%, which is a 1% increase from the current rates, and part-time employees 37%, which is a 1% decrease from the current rates. The estimated ending PERS reserve balance for FY21 is $2.1 million, and PERS escalation continues to be an ongoing budget challenge for the college. The general fund is a $91.1 million proposed budget, which is a 1.4% increase from the 2019-2020 budget. And this budget represents the budget balancing options that were vetted and approved through the college governance structure. Budgeted tuition and fee revenues, $31.3 million, and we must firmly link expenses to our limited revenue. Personnel services constitute 79.6% of the general fund budget as proposed. The proposed Fund 9 budget, which is one of our other operating funds, is $15.4 million, and the financial projections used for budget development combine the general fund and the administratively restricted Fund 9. So that is an overview of the budget message. The next step that I have is to go through some orientation to the document, but I can pause here, Celine, if you would like. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I think the next item that I think it would be good if you went ahead.
Okay. So in years past, at this time, everyone would have had a nice hard copy of the proposed document printed from Printing and Graphics. And due to the circumstance of the time, we're operating a little bit differently. But I want to make sure that I still give some thank yous to individuals that were critical in developing the proposed document. And the first is Tatiana Bakhtina, who is my colleague in the budget office. She worked endless hours pulling everything together, making edits, getting all the schedules together so we would have something to discuss tonight. Deborah Butler in the President's office for countless hours of editing. Anna Scott in planning and institutional effectiveness for countless hours of editing. Mira Mason Reeder in the Office of Finance and Administration for countless hours of editing. And Mary Frances Case and Brianna Butler, second-year graphic design students in the LCC Design Media Center for building the graphic on the front, or the colors, the design of the front and back cover, as well as the design of the infograph snapshot. So in the PDF that went out, the table of context contains hyperlinks to ease navigation to different sections of the document. But just going through some of these, So pages 12 and 13 of the document and 16 and 17 of the PDF provide an overview of the budget development process. Pages 14 through 19 or 18 through 23 of the PDF provide an overview of LCC's operating resources. Pages 20 through 24 provide an overview of LCC's operating requirements and forecasting methodology. Page 21 outlines fiscal year 19 OPE expenditures and a 15-year OPE rate history. Pages 25 through 32 provide a discussion on the current economic environment, which includes an overview of the biennium, the 2019 to 2021 state biennium revenue forecast, as well as the state community college budget, an overview of a Lane County worker profile and unemployment rate, a discussion of the Higher Education Price Index, or the HEPI, and a comparison between Lane County unemployment and Lane student full-time FTE, an overview of LCC student FTE over time, and an overview of LCC's annual resources from the Community College Support Fund over time. Page 34, 39 of the PDF is a summary of the FY21 proposed budget for all funds. The adopted budget for FY20 is included for comparison, as well as 2 years of prior actuals. Page 36 is a representation of how the budget breaks down by program category for each fund. 37 is our transfer schedule, proposed transfer schedule for FY21. Pages 41 through 45 go through the general fund schedule. 46 through 48 show the budget allocation by expense category, so breaking it down between personnel, M&S, capital outlay, or transfer. And 49 through 51 is the Fund 9 schedule. And then we do an overview, pages 52 to 56 of debt service, showing our short and long-term debt. 57 through 61, capital projects, and a discussion on major maintenance, the facilities master plan, and the 2020 bond. Table 15 on page 61 outlines major maintenance projects at differing funding levels. The FY21 proposed funding level for major maintenance is $810,000. Page 66 is the Special Revenue Fund 8, Fund 8, which is also kind of our contracts and grants fund. And this is where we built in budget authority to distribute CARES Act funding, as the funding is restricted. And due to those restrictions, the funding cannot be spent or recorded in the general fund, but that does not mean that we can't move expenditures from the general fund to Fund 8, where the CARES money will live. And then at the end, as we get into the appendix, H2 explains the purpose of our LCC's fund structure. A3 is a visual representation of the budget structure and what activities fall into each fund. And then the remaining pages provide a description of LCC's revenue sources, expense functions, expense categories, financial policies, and a glossary and a list of acronyms. So there's a lot of definitions towards the end that might help with some of the terminology that we're using. And that concludes my orientation.
All right. So I believe the next item on our agenda is public comment. And my understanding is that the public comment has been submitted in advance in writing. I do see a hand up from Lisa Fragola.
Thank you, Celine. I had some questions about that. I thought we had discussed at a previous board meeting that there would be the ability to allow people to actually give public comment during the budget meeting, not just having it submitted in writing. Am I the only one recalling that?
I don't recall that.
Ike, you might need to unmute yourself.
I think there's, I don't know that we can technologically do that.
Well, I believe the county commissioners have been having public comment. I know it's technologically possible.
Do we have any public comment?
I understand that we have one written document or, one written submission. Donna, is there more than that?
No, there was just the one, and I've been checking this whole time. So I just got the one, and Deborah has that and was going to read that.
So I'm going to go ahead and recognize Deborah for reading the public comment that we have received. I don't know if technologically we have a way for folks to call into this meeting, so I'm not sure if that's something we'll be able to resolve tonight.
Thank you. This public comment was received from Adrian Mitchell. Good evening, board and budget committee members. Thank you for creating an option for virtual submission of public comments. More importantly, thank you for your service on this committee and your commitment to transparency and public oversight of the LCC budget. LCCEA has made some formal information requests regarding the budget document, and we look forward to receiving responses from college administrators so that we may fully understand what is built into the budget. As you likely know, the college's shared governance system participates in budget development, and the College Council, with representatives from all stakeholder groups, including students, staff, and faculty, approved the planning projections and budget balancing options that became part of the budget presented to the Board of Education in March. Via our public information requests, we hope to learn about all changes to the budget that have been made since March 18th. One question we have is regarding faculty positions. The March 18th planning documents show an investment in faculty positions in the amount of $1.2 million. However, that amount did not carry forward to the same table of investments found on page 33 of the budget document. Faculty positions are critical to fulfillment of core instructional mission of the college. In addition, stabilization of the faculty is especially important at a time when we are on the precipice of enrollment growth as LCC prepares to help rebuild the economy after the pandemic. Furthermore, ensuring that staffing is sufficient also has budget implications. For instance, this term, even at a time when we have experienced 6.4% enrollment decline in total student credits as of week 2 this term, the college is currently employing 11 temporary contracted faculty and also employing faculty teaching instructional overloads due to a dearth of faculty in high demand disciplines and the fact that LCC remains at an all-time historic low in terms of faculty positions. One department affected is science, where demand is strong for prerequisite courses needed for healthcare programs. We look forward to the fulfillment of our information requests and to ensuring stability for LCC as we work together to support anticipated community need. Thank you. Sincerely, Adrian Mitchell, LCCEA President.
All right. Thank you, Deborah. So I believe that concludes the public comment that we have, unless we've received anything else in the past few minutes. And Matt, I see your hand up, I believe.
Thanks, Celine. I just wanted to remind the committee that this very issue about public comment was brought up yesterday in our agenda setting conversation with Chair Eister and with Dr. Hamilton. Because there are some hurdles in this particular forum taking live public testimony, I believe it's incumbent on us at our next opportunity to have the ability for anyone who's participating live, just the same way they would if we were participating live in person, to be able to participate and share their testimony, public testimony, up to 3 minutes. I appreciate Adrian Mitchell submitting her testimony. I recognize that on our agenda, we asked for written testimony, but as a public body, I would like to see us make a good faith effort to hold space and welcome anyone who wants to participate and share their thoughts with us. I know we're just passing a perspective or a placeholder budget, but this reason alone, I hope this committee will agree that we need to have a second budget committee hearing to allow for anyone who wants to comment on the proceedings that are in front of us tonight. So I just want to say that for the record, and I welcome feedback or discussion, and I thank you for listening.
All right, thank you, Matt. So I believe we have started to move into the committee discussion and information requests section of our meeting. And I do want to remind folks, if you go to the reaction section here, I think we've agreed to use that as a means to raise our hands. So just wanted to provide that reminder. With that said, Hillary, I'm not sure if your hand is still up from previously or if you are attempting to be recognized again.
She may be trying to unmute.
Okay, while Hillary works on that, I will go to Lisa because I do also see a hand up from her.
Thank you. Deborah, I just wanted to request that we get a copy of that public comment if possible, please.
Yes, definitely. It'll be emailed to all of you.
So I am scrolling through here to look for raised hands. I do still see Hillary. Yes.
Okay. So here's my thinking on process and participation and when we should move toward adoption or toward recommendation to the board. And that is, it seems to me that if we want public comment, we want meaningful public comment. And the current budget as it sits is not meaningful to us given the unprecedented situation that we're in, where both revenues and enrollment are really, we have very low information around both of those extremely potent factors in terms of what actually the budget is going to fund. So I do understand the need for public comment, but I am thinking it is better for this committee to move the process along, and then the board can reconvene the budget committee when they have decision packages, and we can comment. We can't do a formal recommendation, but we can certainly take testimony and provide comment. And we will have already done our legal function in terms of taxing and making that formal recommendation to the board. But because the nature of what I see, the nature of the budget document is that we will have people commenting on a set of revenues and services that are probably way off. And so I don't see it as meaningful. So I again would like to and maybe modify my motion to say that we would act tonight, but the board would commit to re-inviting us at the appropriate time to have a budget committee where legitimate, where we can comment on decision packages that will reflect the services and the funding that's actually going to take place. So that's my pitch.
Thank you, Hillary. I see Rosie's hand up in little screen here.
I know you wish we'd do this electronically, but I'm going to plead age and hope you'll just recognize an upraised hand. I really like what I just heard. I too find this a relatively unmeaningful regulatory requirement of us, and the public comment that we might welcome even in a next meeting in May is not going to be meaningful, because it's going to be on a placeholder budget that will cease to exist the minute the administration receives the data that is going to be required to build a budget that we'll have to abide by over fiscal 21. So I support the idea of taking a I'm searching for the right word, taking a step that satisfies the regulatory requirements. That is to say, potentially adopting a budget this evening with a clear public notification that the college is awaiting the data it requires to build a meaningful budget, and that the board will make a commitment to reconvene the budget committee once that information and that budget is available, and ask the citizen budget committee to comment about that budget.
All right, I have a hand up from Lisa. So Lisa, you are recognized.
Thank you. Shouldn't we hear the budget presentation first before we begin having this conversation? I think everything that was just said is valid, but I would like to still hear the budget presentation, unless that was all we were going to get. And I think that's important because even though, yes, this may in truth be a placeholder budget, it'll be the starting point from where we start. So I guess I'm interested in having some additional information provided about this budget, and then having this conversation. I thought when earlier we discussed that the order of the agenda, that this would come later in the meeting.
I am not sure if I may have misunderstood. Is there an additional presentation that we missed?
There is not.
Okay, I just remember getting a lot more information last time, I guess. So, wow, thanks.
All right, is there additional discussion or information requests? Melanie.
So Lisa, I think you might be remembering the second meeting is when typically we would like do a deep dive into things, and this first meeting was usually just, here's your materials, very, very brief conversation. But I wanted to echo what Hillary and Rosie had said. I do agree with that approach. I think that first, I definitely don't want to in any way kind of waste anybody's time in having more meetings and public comment when it's just going to end up being not relevant. I would really rather us bring this group back together, have robust public dialogue at the point where we do have a lot more information. So I do support that approach. I do have one question though. It was something that Adrienne had put in her comment that flagged for me. Can somebody clarify if this budget is the exact budget that College Council and the Budget Development Subcommittee had passed, or were there any changes made to what had gone through the shared governance process?
So this is Marge Hamilton. This is the budget that was passed, but I would just let Zach, I want to ask Zach if there were any minor changes, what we would call cleaning up. Zach?
Yeah, so College Council passes a balancing options to address, in this case of this year, a forecasted deficit. So what the proposal that went to College Council through the Budget Development Subcommittee was a framework to how do we balance to the deficit that we're seeing. Everything that happens after that is then building the documents, building the schedules. College Council did not approve a position list. So any adjustments that were made after that March 18th meeting, that's outside of the purview of College Council. The balancing target that we passed in March included $910,000 of contracted personnel reductions, and that's what the administration's been working on getting to for next year.
All right, thank you, Zach. I do have a hand up from Chelsea, and I just want to let Hillary and Melanie know that I still have both of your hands up on the screen. So if you are not trying to be recognized, I'm not sure I can take those down. I hope you might be able to. Chelsea.
Thank you, Celine. Before I say what I want to say, Melanie, did you get your question answered before we move on from that? Okay, great. I'm in agreement in terms of the comments that have been made thus far by various board members and committee members concerning passing the budget this evening, with the understanding that moving forward, after we get the information that we need to pass to make adjustments to the budget later on in the summer, I do want to express, though, that I think it's going to be imperative that when we need to revisit this budget, knowing at that time what cuts are going to be made, I think it's imperative that we, between now and then, set up a process so that we can have live public comment. I'm very much in agreement with Lisa and Matt concerning that. So would love to make sure that that happens. And additionally, I saw in concerning the motions that are going to be on the floor tonight, there's part of that motion says something to the effect of the budget committee is not required to be involved in the supplemental budget process. And I really want to express it. I think it's absolutely imperative that the budget committee is involved in that supplemental budget process. I think that that's going to be really important, and I want to make sure that that happens.
All right, is there additional discussion? Rosie.
I'm prepared to make a motion to that effect unless anyone else has a motion they want to make.
I will note that it does appear that both Lisa and Mike were hoping to make a comment before. So with your permission, I'll go to them and then come back to you.
I'll pass.
Lisa?
I had the same question that Melanie had, but I didn't feel like it got answered. So I heard Zach say that the position list was something about not part of the information, but I didn't feel like I got an answer to, is this the same budget that was passed by the budget subcommittee? So I'm curious if there are any changes in this budget that we are currently considering approving from the budget that we discussed in March. Zach, and maybe you can answer that. I didn't feel like I got an answer to that. Are there any changes in this document?
So the governance structure does not pass a budget. We come out in March with the forecast, and then we use the forecast, and the budget development subcommittee applies balancing options or levers, in this case of this year, to reduce our forecast expenditures.
So what did we discuss at our last board meeting in March?
That was the framework that College Council approved.
Right. We haven't, this is Paul Gerald, Provost. So when we tackle a budget in budget development subcommittee and pass it through governance and ultimately use to bring recommendations, those are actually recommendations to help develop the budget. We do forecasting and look to see what is our projected surplus or shortfall. And then through the budget development subcommittee action in the past several years, that's been a budget shortfall. We use that framework of shared governance to have conversations about how are we going to globally address the shortfall. So the budget framework that you all saw in March is the same one that we've used to more specifically develop the budget here, and that is using those balancing levers to identify. So, for example, as Zach mentioned before, we were looking at a little less than $1 million in expenditure savings that we were going to have to make from contracted personnel. We're still working on managing a personnel list to hit that mark, hit that target. The list will obviously change daily or potentially as people retire and fall off that list. We're always looking at what are the needs to replace staff that have separated to meet that. So we've still been working off of that. I mean, just for an example, we originally had put in 14, I believe it was, approved 14 full-time faculty hires when we had to move remote for spring. And that was given reference in public comment to approximately 1.2 million in investments for those positions. When we looked at moving remote on spring, we pulled some of those back so we could focus on the move of the spring and not work on searches. And then now in managing the list, we're realizing that the number of new faculty that we're actually going to hire is not 14 anymore. Our list of approved searches now is we've moved forward with 8 and we've added 9 more to that. So we're actually looking at 17 to move forward. So it's constantly managing that position list to be able to meet the needs of the college and also hit the balancing options that were vetted and recommended through the governance structures. And so we're still operating with those, trying to reach our targets in materials and services, part-time personnel, program and service reductions, and contracted personnel reductions in order to meet the budget shortfall in a manner that's consistent with the strategies that were vetted through college governance. I don't know if that helps at all.
It does. So I'm hearing you say that the balancing options have not changed.
That is correct, yes.
And so the underlying budget has not changed.
Well, the underlying budget wasn't fully developed at the time that those options were produced, right? I mean, we developed the budget fully in support to reach those options. And that's what we've been working on in the past 2 months, is to develop the budget to meet those targets. So for example, we don't look at if you were to look at the budget and look by organization and account, we don't do that when we go through governance. We're not looking on an account by account basis to see how that budgets. We're looking globally at the college, large buckets of personnel, large buckets of materials and services, not how much is in this organization or that organization or this department or that department. That doesn't get worked on through governance, just the large level balancing options.
Does that answer your questions, Lisa? Great. Before we move on, I have hands up next to both Zach and Margaret.
Yeah, I just want to mention that the concern or that the question that was raised regarding faculty was a good one, but I want to assure everyone there's a contractual, at least there is now, a contractual number that we have to hit, and that's in the budget. It is in the budget, and what Zach does, and he's going to speak next, is he may move money from the left side to the right side, but the investment in hitting that faculty number is in there.
Thank you. That's a great transition. So I wanted to share one more document with everyone in case a motion moves forward. So by the time that we submitted the proposed and we transition to this next stage, some items have shifted. So I wanted to share that. So on this is some of the changes that I've made, and Donna will be sending this out and we'll be publishing this on the budget website. But some changes that I've made and some position budget adjustments that have happened in the last week. So the general fund's changing. Our proposed instruction for the general fund was 44.4 million. And with this $250,000 change, if the budget committee approves this framework or this budget tonight, it would be 44.68. And that money was, or that budget was freed up by some position adjustments that happened in the student services and the college support services programs. The totals are still the same for the general fund. And then as I scroll through this, there were no changes in our internal services fund, no changes in debt service, no changes in capital projects or financial aid or enterprise or our special revenue fund. But there were some changes in Fund 9 where we had some positions that we added to really support our academic technology area. And the budget from that came out of what we were planning for in contingency to bring that up to instructional support. When we budget the contingency, what we do is we forecast out what we think the fund balance will be. So how much is left over in that fund? And we put in the budget authority here. It was reduced because we knew we would have expanded needs in academic technology. So we freed up some of the budget and moved it to instructional support.
I believe Matt, are you trying to raise your hand? Yes, you're recognized.
Thanks, Celine. So I have a question then about the special fund 8, Zach. At the top of the message statement, you mentioned that that's where the CARES dollars live, and we can move funds into it. And yet, I hear that that special revenue fund, that there hasn't been a change. So I'm confused as to what the change is. Can we elaborate on what we can do to move funds in, and can you expand on the CARES dollars that exist there?
Yeah, so this is budget authority. So the good news is we do have the student portion of the CARES money on hand now. The budget authority was built into next year's budget just in case we distribute some of it July 1st onward. What I said in the budget message was, if we have expenses that live in the general fund or expenses that live in any of the other funds and their CARES Act funding, they're applicable or they're allowable for CARES Act funding, then we will move those expenses, the actuals, to Fund 8 to account for the CARES Act transactions.
Yeah, and if I could follow up on that, Zach. So Matt, basically the CARES Act, the 50% were a pass through, goes to students, and we've started working on a plan to be able to get that to students according to the guidelines that have been released. We have not yet, and that's the money that's currently in there, and we'll disperse some of that this term, and some of that will be carried over into summer and perhaps even fall. The other portion, the institutional portion, if you will, are likely going to be even increasingly more or maybe less, depending upon how the legislation goes and the work goes around that, restrictions around what we can use that money on. But regardless, we need to be able to show that the expenses that we're using that to reimburse the college for, if you will, are appropriate and accountable. So we put it in a holding tank, if you will, in Fund 8, and we charge against that with validated expenses, and it can transfer out of that up to the allotted amount. Some of that will be in general fund expenditures, but some of it may be expenditures that were in a different fund as well. So for example, if CML had expenses due to the COVID situation, then that's something that could potentially be reimbursable, or lost revenue or lost tuition and things like that. So it has to get charged against that. So that's, from an accounting point of view, we need to keep that in that separate fund. That's our fund we use for grants.
Does that adequately answer your question, Matt? Great. Before we go back to Rosie for a motion, is there any additional discussion? All right, I don't see any.
I would like to defer to Hillary. She is the person that started us sort of down this direction. So Hillary, if you have a motion you would like to put on the floor, my only concern was creating a commitment from the Board of Education, in particular, to members of the Budget Committee, that once it's 60 or however many days out, when we have the information and a restructured budget, that we would reconvene the Budget Committee. So that was the piece that I felt like I was hearing a sense that there was a desire to make that commitment publicly.
What I originally had envisioned was a motion on process that would embedded in there would be a board commitment to schedule this additional budget committee meeting at the appropriate time. So I can read my motion on process, and then someone can make the formal motions. I think that Zach has those motions, that the two motions I think that we need to pass the budget on to the board. So I will read the process motion. I move to approve the following process for reviewing the 2021 budget. At this May 6th meeting, receive the staff report, ask questions and provide comments, and recommend approval of the proposed 2021 budget as a placeholder to be amended by the board in the first quarter of the fiscal year after revenue and enrollment projections have been revised. During board consideration of the supplemental budget to rebalance, schedule a budget committee meeting to present the rebalancing packages and get comment from the committee.
If you're making that as a motion, I second it.
That I did make that as a motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion and second? I see Lisa.
So Hillary, you mentioned meeting of the supplemental budget committee that would include both the budget committee and the board. So this full group, correct?
Yes, I was proposing that during the review, and I did say the first quarter of the fiscal year, of the fiscal year, because I presume that's when the supplemental would occur, that the college would schedule a budget committee meeting to present the rebalancing packages and get comment from the committee. So I was envisioning a full budget committee meeting in which the packages are presented and the full committee then can provide comment.
And
take public comment. We probably should add that because that was seemed to be an issue for.
That's what I wanted to ask, because when
Yeah.
you say a meeting, does your motion frame it as only one meeting, or is it open to
It
interpretation?
frames it as one meeting because I presume the board is going to have several public hearings on these packages, or more than one at any rate. The focus of the budget committee meeting is for the budget committee members to be able to offer comment on the meeting, and it could include a public comment session, but I wouldn't assume that the public comment would be limited to that budget committee meeting. I presume the board would also have opportunities for public comment as when they are going to adopt that supplemental budget.
Marge, do you have any references to provide to that, how that might work? I'm not totally clear on what the process would be. So
I think it's very possible. So what I'm hearing is that I think Hillary is acknowledging that the board will start hearing how we're going to address the revenue shortage once we get the information. There's work to be done at the board level. And that once the package is ready to go, what I'm hearing is that would be before the board votes on it, the board brings back the budget committee for feedback. And it would be open, public comment could be, community members would want to hear what the public at that point. I don't see any problem with that.
That's what I had envisioned.
Yeah, it's voluntary. It's this board's decision to, to go along with this or not.
All right. Is there additional discussion on the motion? It doesn't sound like it. So in that case, I think we will go to Donna to call the roll.
Wait, I do have a question. I raised my hand.
Sorry.
Just to clarify, so based on Hillary's proposal, would this limit a reconvening to only one meeting? Will we have to reassess at that meeting if we need additional meetings? Or is it open? If we vote to approve this, then we are saying we're only doing one meeting, correct? Or is it open to what's needed?
My understanding is that the motion says we will hold a meeting. That said, there could be the possibility for an amendment to the motion, which we could add the possibility for additional meetings. I'm not sure if we could then choose to have another meeting. I do see that Mike has his hand up though, so perhaps he has an answer.
Well, the board has the prerogative to hold as many meetings for public input as we would like to, or as we find necessary. I don't find the motion restricts the board from doing that in any way.
And Angela?
Thank you. Could I make a friendly amendment to the motion to say at least one meeting to sort of assuage this conversation?
That would be in order. I believe it would need a second and we would have to vote on it. So if someone is willing to second.
I'm willing to second.
Great. So Lisa seconds. Any further discussion on the amendment? All right. So I think we can go to Donna to call the roll on the amendment to the motion.
Okay. Melanie Munzer,
Aye.
Amber White,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus,
Aye.
Clarissa Parker,
Aye.
Mike Eister,
Aye.
Elaine Clark,
Aye.
Matt Keating.
Sorry, I dropped off. I had to log back on. Could you repeat the motion, please?
And I do not have the text of the motion in front of me, so I am wondering if I could ask Hillary to read it again.
I thought we were
Sure.
voting on the amendment.
Oh,
yeah, what is
I'm
the-
sorry, you are correct. So the amendment is to insert the words at least before one budget meeting.
And what's the original motion?
And this is where I'm going to have to ask Hillary to read it to make sure I get the wording right.
Sure. Move to approve the following process for the 2021 budget. At the May 6th meeting, receive the staff report, ask questions and provide comments. To recommend approval of the proposed 2021 budget as a placeholder to be amended by the board in the first quarter of the fiscal year after revenue and enrollment projections have been received. During board consideration of the supplemental budget to rebalance, schedule a budget committee meeting to present the rebalancing packages and get comments from the committee. So I guess the amendment is schedule at least one budget committee meeting to present the rebalancing packages and get comment from the committee.
So Matt, your vote would be on adding the at least one to the meeting.
I'm supportive of, before I cast my vote, may I make a legal inquiry as to our fiduciary responsibility to pass a budget by June 30th, then what, when we convene a meeting in another quarter in the fiscal year 2021, are we within our legal boundaries to do so.
Or it's just called a supplemental budget.
Yes.
Yes.
Does that answer your question, Matt?
Well, I got three opinions there, but I'm asking for our, I mean, I hear that. I hear the spirit of it. I hear the spirit of the supplemental budget. I get it. And I'm supportive of that concept, but we have legal counsel on the line. And that's what I want to make 100% certain that we're within our guidelines and that we're not reinventing a wheel or we're not operating out of legal boundaries.
All right.
Yes, I think,
Matt, while we're waiting for, oh, there you go. You changed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say yes. I mean, that's absolutely what the supplemental budget process would be for. So yeah, you would be within your legal right to do that.
I vote aye.
All right.
Thank you, by the way.
Let's move on. Kevin Matthews,
Aye.
Chelsea Jennings,
Aye.
Ashley Espinoza,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Hillary Kittleson,
Aye.
Lisa Fragola,
On the amendment?
Yes.
on the amendment,
Okay, great. Thank you. Aye. I thought I voted already.
and Celine Swenson Harris.
Aye. And then I believe unless there's additional discussion, we can go to a vote on the main motion. All right.
Okay. Melanie Munzer,
Aye.
Amber White,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus,
Aye.
Clarissa Parker,
Aye.
Mike Eister,
Aye.
Elaine Clark,
Aye.
Matt Keating,
Nay.
Kevin Matthews,
Aye.
Chelsea Jennings,
Aye.
Ashley Espinoza,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Hillary Kittleson,
Aye.
Lisa Fragola,
Nay.
and Celine Swenson Harris.
Aye. So I believe now would be the time to ask, are there any additional motions? Yes, Hillary.
I don't have in hand the formal language, but I believe staff does. But I would like to make the two motions that are required. I believe there are two motions required to recommend the draft budget to the board.
I believe you are correct. I am looking to see if we have those motions. I don't believe we have the text of those motions in the emails we received. Is that correct? Maybe someone.
No, I thought I had requested that that language be brought to this meeting so that we can.
So we need,
Yes, Rosie.
sorry. So we need to pass a motion to recommend the FY21 budget as proposed, and we need to pass a motion adopting a tax rate for FY21. So if somebody can hustle and get those in front of us, we can take care of that.
And I will recognize Matt. I don't know if we could send those to the chat function or if that would be a issue, but Matt.
Yeah, thanks. And Rosie, I was just going to suggest similarly, but I was going to suggest maybe a 5-minute recess, like a formal recess, to pause our public meeting while we gather said items, if that's probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I'm looking to staff to hopefully tell me that that is something that we are allowed to do.
Yeah, actually, we have those motions. Mike, do you still have the two motions with the tax levy? And...
Well,
so I will briefly recess us if that is something that I have the capacity to do, so that we can get the paperwork in order.
Great. I request a 5-minute recess, please.
All right, we are in recess.
Thanks.
So Marge, the motion that I have was something that Hillary sent, but I'm not sure that I have the motion that was recommended by staff.
Okay, Zach, are you there?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. I shared them with.
Yeah, Zach has it.
Right,
Sure.
or I can send it out. I mean, I can send it out to everyone if you'd rather do that.
Oh, they
I
probably
think
like
it'd
it
be
if
great
you
if we can
share
just
the
pop it up
screen.
on the screen.
Yeah, just put it up on the screen.
Okay, Zach, are you going to do that?
Sure.
Give him a minute. Okay, they were the original motions.
Perfect. Just what we needed.
Okay, good.
I am wondering, I think a couple people might have stepped away. So I'm hoping to be able to confirm we have everyone back before I call us back to order.
Can you make it a little bigger, Zach, please? Nice, thank you.
And are we still missing Mike and Matt?
Mike,
We have Mike.
We have Mike.
Matt, are you present? Okay. Technically, he requested 3 minutes more of recess, so I guess we will wait for a bit.
Hillary is also not present.
I see that Matt is back. Does anyone see anyone else missing? Before we go ahead, I have Kevin Matthews.
Is Hillary back? Because I had seen that her couch was.
Yeah, I'm not seeing now.
Hillary's here.
She's here.
Okay, Hillary's here. Okay, I'm trying to scroll. Sorry, folks. Excuse me a second. A little bit of a technical issue here. Let me stop that. Well, okay, let me. Okay, apologies. I will go ahead then. I think everyone is once again present. I don't see anyone missing, so I will go ahead and call us back to order and ask if there are any motions.
I'll make the first motion.
All right.
I'm slightly changing the words just because we didn't do any amendments. I move that the Lane Community College District Budget Committee recommend approval of the 2021 fiscal year proposed budget for all funds totaling $224,954,154.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second.
Right, and I didn't see what that was. I'm hoping that staff did.
It was me.
Great. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, we will go ahead and call the roll.
Okay, Melanie Munson.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Amber White,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus,
Aye.
Marissa Parker.
Aye.
Mike Eister,
Aye.
Elaine Clark,
Aye.
Matt Keating, Matt? Oh,
Matt,
okay. Sorry. Matthews,
Aye.
Chelsea Jennings,
Aye.
Ashley Espinoza,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Hillary Kittleson,
Aye.
Lisa Fragola,
Aye.
Celine Swenson Harris.
Aye. So motion passes. Are there any additional motions?
Go for it, Hillary.
Okay, I move that the Lane Community College District Budget Committee approve property taxes for the 2021 fiscal year at the rate of 6.191 cents per thousand of assessed value for the permanent rate tax levy and in the amount of $12,791,000 for the general obligation bond levies.
All right, do we have a second?
I second.
All right.
Now I have a question.
Yes.
I need clarification from legal counsel if it is the purview of the budget committee per se to approve property taxes. I'm wondering if that is the board's responsibility and if it is the budget committee's responsibility to recommend approval. I just need clarification on that. I'm sort of surprised at the wording. Maybe Hillary knows.
Is council able to provide an answer on that?
Yeah, I'm on here. I really think it should be, the budget committee should be recommending approval to the board.
In that case, will someone offer an amendment to the motion?
Excuse me, I do believe it's a slightly different motion that the ORS gives the budget committee the ability to set the maximum tax rate. The board can reduce it, but the budget committee, actually, that is the one piece of power the budget committee has. So I do believe that we're recommending the draft budget, but the language around taxes is a stronger language. I'm not sure this is, I believe it's approved. I believe that the budget committee approves a maximum tax rate and the board can reduce it, but cannot increase it.
And so I do see Mike's hand up. I'm wondering if Michael would like to speak to that, or if we should just go to Mike.
Well, I think you're talking about me. Yeah. So Hillary, I'm sorry. This is my first meeting, so I don't know everybody's name. The lady that just spoke, Hillary, I believe is her name. She's correct. And so it probably should be worded, approve property tax at a maximum rate of 0.619.
Yes.
Yes, that is true. But the board ends up, they can't go over that, but they can go under. Correct.
All right. So Mike, did you have a comment?
Nothing to add.
And then I have a small icon next to Matt Keating's name that looks like a cup of coffee. Okay, I'm going to assume that's not an attempt to get into the queue in that case. So do we have anyone who would like to offer an amendment to the motion? Yes, Hillary.
I'd like to amend my motion to say that the district budget committee approve at a maximum rate of, so that written thing you see, and then insert at a maximum rate of.
All right. Can someone second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Okay, hearing none, let's go ahead and call the roll on that.
Melanie Munzer,
Aye.
Amber White,
Aye.
Angela Van Kraus,
Aye.
Clarissa Parker,
Aye.
Mike Eister,
Aye.
Elaine Clark,
Aye.
Matt Keating,
Aye.
Kevin Matthews,
Aye.
Chelsea Jennings,
Aye.
Ashley Espinoza,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Hillary Kittleson,
Aye.
Lisa Fragola,
Aye.
Celine Swenson Harris.
Aye. Is there additional discussion on the main motion? All right, I don't think I see anyone trying to get into the queue. So Donna, can we call the roll on that as well?
Okay. Melanie Munzer,
Aye.
Amber White.
Aye.
Okay. Angela Van Kraus.
Aye.
Clarissa Parker,
Aye.
Mike Eister,
Aye.
Elaine Clark,
Aye.
Matt Keating,
Aye.
Kevin Matthews,
Aye.
Chelsea Jennings,
Aye.
Ashley Espinoza,
Aye.
Rosie Pryor,
Aye.
Hillary Kittleson,
Aye.
Lisa Fragola,
Aye.
Celine Swenson Harris.
Aye. And I believe that concludes our agenda for the evening. Does anyone have anything else before we adjourn? All right, and Margaret.
Yes, thank you. I just want to sincerely thank everyone for their work tonight. And I know this is extraordinarily different than what we're used to, but I want to emphasize the fact that I've been in daily to every other day meetings with the HEC and in Salem regarding our revenue package. And I can assure you it is completely up in the air. There's a lot of work to be done in Salem to figure out and maybe hopefully have us not hit the worst case scenario. And it's been very painful for everybody at the college to not know. The not knowing is more stressful than anything, I think. So I just want to thank you all for your patience. We're trying to meet a legislative, a deadline, but we all know that when we get the real information, we are creating lots of options for our board to consider. So you are all 100% correct. Oh, I see the lights in my eyes, sorry. There are going to be many options for the board to consider. And I cannot thank you enough for your patience.
Thank you so much. Anyone else, any parting words, I guess, until we meet again when we have more information? Yeah, Lisa.
Sorry, I couldn't find the button for the raise hand. I'd like to know if we can figure out the technology so that people can participate with public comment rather than submitting it in writing and someone just reading it. I really think that's a deterrent to participation.
Kevin Matthews?
I don't know, I'll wait if there's an answer to that question or if that was just a comment.
I'm just asking, I'm not asking for a promise. I'm just asking if we can explore investigating it, thinking about it. I guess I would have to, I'm asking staff or the chair, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see. I think Brett might be trying to get our attention.
Okay. Hi, everyone. We, excuse me, haven't had to speak for a few hours. We do have a Zoom webinar option, and we have discussed that. I think that's what some board members were referencing. We haven't had a formal discussion about it. As you know, there are issues of opening public meetings such as this to the world without some controls, especially over video, and higher ed institutions have experienced the bad side of that as we've all relied more on Zoom lately. And so the easiest way if you want to hear from folks live is to use perhaps the Zoom webinar feature like we've used for town halls. And what that allows us to do is recognize people who are joining us. The chair can call on them, you can unmute them. You're not able to see them through video, but you are able to hear their audio. They can speak to you all, and you can set a timer, say for 3 minutes, and they can give testimony that way. That way you have some controls, and I think, with video, being the most important thing to control, but you are able to, if there's any issues with the audio, the chair or the host of the meeting has the ability to mute anyone who's speaking at any moment.
So we'll go to Rosie, and then if I can, I will put myself in the queue as well.
Thank you. Chris just told me that what Brett just described is how the Eugene City Council is handling their public comment sessions. So it sounds like it can be made to work successfully, and if there's a precedent for it. And I just want to assure Lisa, I thought we'd already made a commitment that we would find a way to facilitate public comment the next time around in real time. So I'm assuming we will investigate and we will come up with a way to do it. That's what I heard the president say.
Yes, yes.
So to recognize myself, I would like to also echo the desire for us to find a way for folks to participate in real time by providing comment. I will say that, I have seen some entities be able to do that successfully with Zoom. I also want to recognize that this challenge is one of many challenges we're facing in this really uncertain and unprecedented time. And that I know that I don't believe anyone here has a desire for there to be less opportunity for public comment. But I believe that we do face certain technological challenges. And I know I think everyone here is committed to working together to make sure that we are able to find a way for folks to speak. And I will go ahead and recognize Clarissa.
Thank you, Celine. I can't remember if we've broached this topic in the past, but do we have the option for any language translation or someone who can translate if someone needs to speak in a language other than English available? Perhaps it might be easier or more challenging to do it over a webinar, but I just wanted to, again, just broach that topic as a point of accessibility too.
And I think that might be a question for staff. I'm not sure.
Right. So we will find out about that because there are accessibility requirements for the classroom. So we'll see if we can accommodate. That's a great question. Thank you.
And I now have a thumbs up next to Matt's name. So Matt, are you trying to be recognized? Nope. Okay. And then Ashley, I have a little clapping icon in your screen. Are you trying to be recognized?
I am.
Great.
Regarding the translation, if we're talking about Spanish and I don't know how it works for, my participation versus translating, but if there is someone and knowing that I can translate in Spanish, I would be more than happy to participate. Help in that way if that if that's even a thing, like if I can do it in that way, I would be more than happy to participate in that way.
Thank you, Ashley. And is there anyone else trying to be recognized that I'm not seeing right now? Chelsea.
Thank you. I am in agreement with all of that. And also Zoom has the option for closed captioning. And I've been through a couple of Zoom trainings for my day job so that we can better utilize the platform. So if staff are in any need of resources from me or want to work in collaboration around any of that, I am happy to offer that.
Great, thank you. And then Clarissa, I still have a hand up next to you. Are you?
Sorry, I will take it.
No. Okay. Okay, great. So I know we've run a little bit long. Does anyone have any final thoughts before I go ahead and adjourn? All right. Well, in that case, we are adjourned, and thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.